Hello, it's good to be with you, and it's good to be able to share another devotional thought. I'd like to call our time together 6 minutes to center, because it's 6 minutes that we can take out of our day and we can spend that time maybe getting recentered and focus on God. I'm thinking this week in my devotional thought about dumpster diving. Now, let me tell you what I mean. All conversations at the food and clothing room have the potential to turn into something pretty interesting. But the other day, I ran into something that was very interesting. I was getting information from a lady, and she starts up a conversation. She goes, "Yeah, I was actually in the emergency room last night." I said, "Oh no, that's terrible. How'd that happen?" She goes, "Well, I had to get my head stapled because I was pulling my dumpster back from the curb and there was a branch there, and I don't really know what happened. Next thing I know, I end up head first into the dumpster with my feet hanging out the top." She was a really good sport about it, and she laughed about it, but I got to thinking, how many times do we find ourselves in a situation like that where we're maybe in that metaphorical dumpster? We don't know how we got there. We know we don't want to be there, but we don't know what to do about it. And so I asked myself, was there ever a time when Jesus was in a situation that he really didn't want to be in and he found a way out? And I found an example in Mark chapter 1, verses 32 through 39. Let me read that to you. "That evening at sundown, they brought to him all who were sick or oppressed by demons, and the whole city was gathered together at the door. And he healed many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons, and he would not permit the demons to speak, because they knew him. And rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him searched for him, and they found him, and they said to him, 'Everyone is looking for you.' And he said to them, 'Let us go out to the next towns, that I may preach there also. For that is why I came out.' And he went throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and casting out demons." Okay, so as we look at this situation, I want you to recognize something. Jesus was actually doing good things. I mean, he was Jesus, and Jesus was actually doing things that only he could do, cast out demons. But he wasn't following the plan of action that he really had on his heart. And he recognized this. And so what he did was he left early in the morning. He took himself out of the situation, and he spent time with God in prayer. What this time with God in prayer did was allow him to refocus, recenter, and understand really what he wanted to do, where he wanted to go, and where he wanted to be. And then when the apostles found him and said, "Hey, everyone's looking for you," then he has a plan of action. He says, let's go elsewhere. Let me preach and teach there and do good things there." And that's exactly what he did. He taught people. He cast out demons. He continued to do good things. He just did it with more focus and being in the place where he wanted to be, or places as he wanted to be, sharing the news with more people. So I look at that situation and I notice some things, I recognize some things that we can apply to our lives. The first thing that we need to do is we need to find out, recognize when we're in a situation. Sometimes it's obvious. We're in a situation we don't want to be there and we know we need to get out, but we don't know how. Sometimes we're doing good things, but those good things just don't feel right, or we don't feel like we're doing it with the right attitude or the right heart. Sometimes just we understand that we don't need to be somewhere because of our guilty conscience. And sometimes it is a friend who will come to us and say, "Are you okay? There seems like there's something wrong with you." And all those situations that can let us realize that we need to spend some time recentering. When we recognize that, the very next step that we need to do is exactly what Jesus did, is go spend time with God. We can spend time with God in prayer. We can spend time in God's Word. But what that does, it allows us to be refocused. The other thing that we need to do is make sure that we have a place that we can go by ourselves where we're not disturbed. Next, after we have spent that time with God, we listen for His words. We listen. We let we let Him refocus us, recenter us, and then we come up with a plan based on that time we spent with God. And then, once we have that plan, we go out and do exactly what Jesus did and do good works. I think of Mary and Martha. Martha had invited Jesus and the apostles into her home. Martha was in the kitchen, busy working. Mary was at Jesus' feet listening to Jesus. Martha's getting more and more upset and more anxious. And she finally breaks and she says, Jesus, can you tell Mary to come help? And Jesus has this response to her. This is Luke chapter 10, verses 41 and 42. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Now keep in mind, Martha was doing something that was actually pretty incredible. She was serving the Lord. But she wasn't serving the Lord with the right heart, the right mindset, the right attitude. And Jesus told Martha to do exactly what He did. Remember, when Jesus found Himself in a place He didn't want to be, the first thing He did was went to the Lord. That's what He told Martha to do. He said, you need to spend time with God. And that's exactly what Mary had chosen to do. Now, when we find ourselves in those situations, remember, recognize it, spend time with God, let Him refocus us, and then we set out on a new path based on God's recentering in our lives. So try that next time you find yourself in the dumpster. Thank you.